Welcome to another FPL video. I'm going to be rating your wildcard drafts as well as your normal teams in this very video, and on screen you can see my team. If you want to kind of check out my analysis on my own team and looking at my transfer plans and the captaincy, then check out yesterday's video. But let's just go straight into this, and thank you to everyone who has sent in their teams. We're going to go for 11 teams today, 6 of them being wildcards and 5 of them being normal teams. So without further ado, let's head straight into the video. Remember to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and share this video around with anyone who loves FPL, UCL fantasy and football. Also feel free to comment down your kind of thoughts and ideas on all of these teams as well as your own down in the comment section below. So the first wildcard team we're going to be looking at is sent by Azuz MVCK, and he's made a few changes due to the kind of injury concerns regarding Calvert-Lewin and Lukaku, which I can understand, although I still think there's a chance of one of them starting. So when I look at this team, there's a few things I like, especially the midfield. It looks really solid. Benrahma, Torres, Salah and Greenwood, you're pretty much getting 4 of the highest scoring players so far, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be the highest scoring players going into the future, of course. And then Ronaldo up top and Antonio, I think that's obviously a sensible duo. Most people are going to be going for them, and with good reason. And he's gone with Danny Ings up front. Now, he's been doing really well so far, but with that fixture run for Aston Villa, I'm just not so sure. And if there is a chance of Calvert-Lewin being fit for Gameweek 4, I just get him back in. But of course, just wait until the press conferences from Rafa Benitez and also all the other managers, and then we can kind of garner some more ideas. In terms of the defence, I like Trent Alexander-Arnold a lot. Livramento is a good 4th or 5th choice defender. But Matip as well, I just think that he's too injury prone, and it's just a matter of time before he breaks down. And even if he doesn't, I think he's going to be occasionally rotated because Liverpool have so much depth at the back. They've got Joe Gomez, Konate, Nat Phillips, the list goes on. But also, because he's injury prone, I think Klopp is going to be a bit cautious with him. So that's something to think about. Of course, it could be a nice differential to go with double Liverpool defence. I think that it might be even better to go with Jota in the midfield, maybe instead of Torres, and then get another defender for Matip. And then when you look at your bench, yeah, Brownhill's a fine, 4.5 million midfielder. Then you look at Johnson and Amati, you're not really going to get too much squad depth there, and just starting Livramento most weeks, I think that'd be a big cause for concern. I like Sanchez, I like the midfield, I like the attack, but I'd probably look to move Ings on to Calvert-Lewin or another striker depending on who's fit and available. And in terms of the defence, I'd probably change it about quite a bit, and if you need funds, then you might need to downgrade someone from your midfield or attack and invest that into your defence. You'd want to have, I'd say, yet another good option who's going to play. Obviously, Amati for the time being is decent, but when Vestergaard is fully fit and he reclaims his spot, there's no spot really for Amati in the side. So yeah, you're pretty much, I think, down to the bare bones in the defence, so I definitely look to improve that. What I really like about all the kind of drafts that have been sent in is that there's kind of a lot of differences, especially compared to previous videos I've made. So this is yet another wildcard team sent in, this time by Elliot 2K20, and there's no Salah. That's kind of like the big thing in this team, and of course you don't have to go with him. There's different options, and we'll actually break down the rest of the team because it is pretty good in my opinion. So we've got Sanchez in goal, pretty standard. Duffy, so double Brighton defence, could be good for kind of the short to medium term, but maybe going forward it could be something to address. Shaw and Trent, that's pretty much fine, and you can always transfer Shaw to a Chelsea defender from game week 7 onwards when United's fixtures turn for the worse and when Chelsea have a very good fixture swing. The midfield, very interesting too. Greenwood in there, and you've also got Ronaldo up top, so double United attack. Jota's there, good cover I guess for Salah, obviously not the same thing, but still I think Jota is a great option, especially with Firmino out for the time being. Ferran Torres should still be good and fairly nailed up until De Bruyne and Foden are ready to start, which should be from game week 5 onwards. Ismaila Sarr's a decent choice. I actually prefer him over Traore, for example, despite Wolves' very good fixtures. And speaking of Wolves, you've got Jimenez up top. One concern is actually, Mexico trying to kind of put bans on their players. Calvert-Lewin is an injury concern, but obviously let's just wait until the press conferences, and if he is fit, then definitely a great option. There's no Antonio too, so going without Antonio and Salah, of course, you can do that, and maybe their form is going to dip slightly, but personally, I would prefer having them two. So, for example, Antonio instead of Jimenez, and then maybe having Salah in the midfield, but that would require downgrades elsewhere. Ayling's a decent choice looking at the fixtures long term, so I like that. Damari Gray, another good choice, and you pretty much have 8 attackers in a way. You can always kind of rotate or drop one of your midfielders or attackers, so that makes complete sense. But maybe what you could do is downgrade one of your midfielders in general, and then use that to kind of have 3 or 4 really good midfielders, including Salah, or use that extra money to upgrade Jimenez to an Antonio, and then you've got Brandon Williams. So overall, I think it's got good squad depth, and you're going to have maybe some benching headaches from time to time. Not necessarily a bad thing, of course, but I would try, in my opinion, to get one of Antonio or Salah in there, depending on how much money you have available. And also, you got Raya in goal as your second goalkeeper, so you've got a bit of rotation going there. So very good squad depth, one of the best I've seen in terms of squad depth in a very long time. So I like this team as well, and just with those kind of minor adjustments, if possible, I think this would be even better. And yet another wildcard draft that has been sent in is by Marcos Chia, and I have to say it's a very solid team, and there's a lot that I like about it. So Sanchez in goal, pretty standard. I would say that one thing you can do is with Foster, because you have a wild card, you might as well just change to another 4 million goalkeeper, because there is a slight chance, due to Foster's high ownership from the beginning and him being injured, there might be actually some managers transferring him out and his price could dip. So I just think it would make sense to just change your goalkeeper. It's a very minor kind of complaint there. The defense is looking really good. Shaw, Trent and Semedo, that's obviously going to be a very popular pick, if not Marçal and Cody. There's going to be a lot of Wolves defenders on these wildcards, and Semedo does offer the most attacking threat. He may not fulfill on them, but he has the potential to maybe sometimes get a very high score. So I do like that choice, even though I have some reservations about him myself. The midfield's very solid. Jota and Salah, very good. I think you cover all bases there, and 2 of the best midfielders you can get on a wild card. Rafinha, medium to long term, I still think he's a bit of a forgotten man, and he's very consistent for his price. Traore's got the underlying stats, and Wolves have been very unlucky. Traore's finishing and end product, though, is a cause for concern. Let's wait and see. You're giving him a chance, and I think it is worth taking a gamble. The fixtures are there for Wolves for a prolonged period of time, so I think it is a good choice. And the attack is my favourite part of the team. It's going to be very standard: Ronaldo, Calvert-Lewin and Antonio, but in my opinion, those are the 3 best strikers you can get, considering value and all of this other stuff. With Ronaldo, you can always kind of move him on to Lukaku from Gameweek 7 onwards. And looking at your bench, Brownhill, standard 4.5 million midfielder. Then you've got Livramento, decent, and Williams. What I could say, one kind of minor way to improve is maybe trying to find a bit of money and upgrade one of those 4.1 million defenders to a 4.5, who's going to be a bit more, I'd say, nailed, and also just playing for a better defence. At this moment in time, don't get me wrong, Livramento and Williams are nailed, but maybe finding a bit more money to get maybe a Spurs defender at 4.5 million or someone else, it might be a bit more beneficial to your squad depth and your team, because there might be some weeks where you're going to be relying on Livramento or Williams and their defences just aren't good enough in my opinion. But still a very good team. I like the captaincy and vice captaincy. It's pretty much what I'm going to be going for if I bring Ronaldo in. So very solid team. I like it a lot. The next wildcard draft is sent in by Stephen Moore, and a very interesting, there's actually quite a lot of differentials in here, which are worth considering and highlighting. So he's got Jose Sarr in goal, and also Steele, just a standard 4 million goalkeeper, probably the one I'd go for too. But Jose Sarr's a very interesting one at 5 million, good fixtures for a long time, and I think Wolves can keep a few clean sheets. Maybe not as much as the years gone by with Nuno Espirito Santo, but still I think Jose Sarr could be a very interesting choice at 5 million, and perhaps offers even greater value at this moment in time than Sanchez. The defence is also very interesting. You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Rudiger, who I think long term is a very good choice, and Chelsea are the second best, or if not the best, defence in the league. Duffy should continue to start for the time being, but I'm still concerned with Veltman. Let's wait and see. He actually scored on international duty, so that's something to kind of highlight. Ayling, you've got him in there, and I think it's still a good choice, and you're looking to the medium to long term with that. Pereira, also an interesting choice, and he is a differential, but I would probably look to maybe move him on to a Luke Shaw, or maybe just another defender. Maybe you can downgrade him and find a bit more money to invest in your midfield or attack, but it's still a very good defence. I just personally have a few gripes with Pereira, for example. That's kind of a personal opinion there. The midfield's very solid. You've got Sarr and Traore. A lot of people will be picking between them and just selecting one. So very interesting that you have both. You've also got Benrahma, Ferran Torres and Salah. So very solid midfield. And you've also got 3 strikers that you can play. Pukki, Ronaldo and Bamford. So very interesting choice there with Bamford. I think looking to the long term, that might be a very smart pick. What I would say is I would probably try to downgrade one of your midfielders or attackers just to a standard 4.5 million option, and then use that extra money to invest in one other area of your team. Maybe, perhaps, you can use it on Pereira, changing him to anyone you want, or if not, on another midfielder, maybe a Traore or Sarr, or maybe Pukki, and then you can just improve your team even further. But it's a very solid team as well, just like all of those that have been sent in, and some very interesting ideas in here for sure. The next team is sent by One Hida, another wildcard draft. Jose Sarr is in there once again, and Steele, just like the last team. I like it, and pretty much just the same thoughts there really. The defence is very solid. Trent and Shaw. Once again, you can always move Shaw onto a Chelsea defender around game week 7. Livramento and Williams, perhaps maybe upgrading one of them to a 4.5 million defender, I think would be beneficial if possible. And then Kieran Tierney at 4.9 could be an interesting choice, but because he's injury prone and because I just don't think any Arsenal defender is worth 4.9 million at this moment in time, I'd consider moving him down to a Tomiyasu or a Ben White. And if not, you can always just look at other options from Wolves, who have a very good fixture run, Spurs, so that involves the likes of Marçal, Cody. You can even go for Semedo instead of Tierney, and then with the Spurs defenders, Eric Dyer, Sanchez when he's back and available, and also Tanganga if you back him to start. But still a solid defence, solid keeper. Just my thoughts on improving the defence there. Jota and Salah, once again, I think 2 of the best options you can go for. Gilmour's a decent 4.5 million option. Demarai Gray at his price, at this moment in time anyway, is probably the best. And Ferran Torres is very explosive and still quite a differential and could be pretty decent, but just bear in mind that with the Champions League coming in and also Kevin De Bruyne, Foden coming back, there's going to be a lot of rotation for Manchester City. And then Jimenez up front, I like it, and obviously personally I would prefer having Calvert-Lewin if possible, but still Jimenez is one of the best options for, I'd say, the next 10 game weeks or so, and Ronaldo and Antonio are very good, and I'm guessing you'd be captaining Ronaldo or Salah, and the other one would be the vice captain. So very solid team, looking good for game week 4, and even long term, just a few ways to kind of improve it. And here we are with the final wildcard team that is going to feature in this video. This is sent in by Valentino, and pretty interesting as well. Sanchez is in goal. It's pretty much at this moment in time just Sanchez or Jose Sarr featuring in most of these teams, with the occasional Raya in there. Tierney once again features along with Semedo, so very interesting indeed, and still having money for Reece James and Trent, so this is a very solid look in defence. I still maintain the same belief despite you having Semedo. You could maybe move Tierney to another cheaper Arsenal defender, and if not, just one from Wolves or Spurs, maybe another one. Of course, you already have Semedo, so that's not too much of an issue. And Williams, 4 million, should continue to start, and not expecting too many clean sheets, but the occasional 1 or 2 points, that's fine to come off the bench when needed. And the midfield, once again, looking really good. Jota, Salah, standard stuff. Torres is in there, and I personally prefer Greenwood, and I've said this all along, same with even over Jota, although obviously the appeal of Jota has increased because of Firmino's injury. And then you've got Mason Mount. I actually backed him to do well against Aston Villa in game week 4, but I just think that around the same price, I'd probably just go for Greenwood if you can. You don't have enough money to do that move, but I'd try to find a bit more money. Of course, maybe the way you're seeing it is Mount is more nailed. Greenwood's going to be in and out of the team, and that's certainly a possibility, but I still prefer Greenwood. I think he's going to score more points this season, at least if he continues to start a similar amount of minutes and games. Sissoko, 4.5 million option, decent. I'd say him, Gilmour and Brownhill are the standouts at the moment, maybe even Basuma. And the attack, standard stuff really, Calvert-Lewin and Ronaldo. No Antonio, which is interesting, but you can't have everyone, and Richardson is your 4.5 million striker of choice. I would probably say to improve this team, I might actually downgrade a bit of money from your defence, probably Tierney to a 4.5 million defender, and I'd actually move Mason Mount. You could actually move him to a Traore or to an Ismaila Sarr, and then use that extra money to upgrade either Sissoko or Richardson. It's up to you, but still a very good team. It's looking really good, and a lot of decent choices in there. Now moving on to the kind of normal teams. This has been sent in by Chris El Famoso. Sanchez in goal and Steele, decent combination. Don't need to worry about the goalkeepers. Dyer, Trent and Shaw is looking good for the next few game weeks, of course. Spurs are going to have some tough fixtures coming up, but you do have Soufal, who I think is adequate cover for sure. So I think your defence is pretty fine, even though Amati will probably lose a spot when Vestergaard comes back. I think he is pretty much already available. And then looking at your midfield, Heung-min Son is actually an injury doubt. I think it is more precautionary rather than anything, but it's just something worth monitoring. And you've got him vice-captain. I think he's a decent choice for the captaincy this week. And Salah as your captain, not going for Ronaldo. That's very interesting. But of course, maybe you want to kind of wait and see first. Your midfield, I have to say, is very solid. Having Greenwood, Jota, Salah and Son is fantastic, and then obviously let alone having Benrahma to add to the mix, and then Ings and Antonio up front, it's looking really good. And of course Ings is probably the kind of weak link in this team, even looking forward to future game weeks, so maybe moving him on to Calvert-Lewin is a sensible choice, or because Son is a doubt and maybe you can find better value elsewhere, you can downgrade him to a 6 or 7 million midfielder and then use that money to upgrade Ings to Ronaldo or Lukaku if he's fit. So that's probably what I'd suggest with this team. I'd probably look to move Son and Ings on and get Ronaldo and a 6 or 7 million midfielder of your choice. And you've already got Greenwood and Jota, so I wouldn't kind of be too picky with the options. I think Sarr, Rafinha, even Ferran Torres, if you back him to start, they're all good choices that can do the business for you. It's a very good team, and I wouldn't worry too much about Obafemi. He's pretty much just bench fodder for you anyway, but it's looking really good. This team is sent in by Dylan, so thank you very much to Dylan and same with the rest of you who have sent in your teams. And very big at the back, that's kind of the first thing that I take away from it. Sanchez and Steele, goalkeeper combination. Rudiger, Trent, Shaw, Dyer and Cody. I mean, talk about defensive headaches. I mean, that is looking really good. And yeah, I mean, you could argue it's too much squad depth at the back and you could use that money to upgrade your midfield or attack. That is a possibility. And considering you have Scarlett and Brownhill, I'd probably look to upgrade one of them, because as much as I always say, you know, having 8 attackers is all well and good, but maybe it causes too much benching headaches. I think just always sticking with the same 4 midfielders, and one of them is Damari Gray, I'm just not so sure about that. And still, it's a really good team. And you've got Ronaldo and Lukaku in there, so really big up front for sure. And you've still got Salah, so you've got 3 of the best premium options in the game. And you still have Trent at the back. Very solid defense. You've got good cover. And I can pretty much just see this as every week pretty much playing 4 or 5 defenders. Sometimes playing 3, but for the most part playing 4 or 5. So obviously there's different ways to go about it. There's no right or wrong answer. And Damari Gray could be decent cover for Calvert-Lewin. You can't have everyone, of course. Salah, Rafinha, obviously very fine. I think Rafinha could be really good. Not sure if it's going to be him or Bamford, you know, with the points going into the future. They should both be combining pretty well. I'm not expecting the kind of results and returns that they were producing last season, but still a good option nonetheless. Benrahma, I honestly prefer having Antonio instead of Benrahma, but you know, there is quite a considerable gap between the two in terms of price. Still a very good team overall. Just personally, I'd say is improve your midfielder attack. So either upgrade Brownhill or Scarlett by maybe taking a bit of money out of your defence. You can always downgrade a Cody or a Dyer to a 4 million, or maybe one of your other defenders, which will give you even more money. There's no need to kind of get rid of Lukaku or Ronaldo yet, but if Lukaku is an injury doubt, and he is going to miss the Game Week 4 match, then maybe it's worth considering downgrading him to a Calvert-Lewin, and then it gives you a lot more money to play around with for the rest of your team. But still, very good team, Dylan. The last set of teams are going to involve hits, and this one is sent in by FPL Fan. And once again, thank you to everyone who's sent in their teams. And this is going to be a -8 to bring in Ferran Torres, Damari Gray, Romelu Lukaku and Calvert-Lewin. Now, I'm always of the opinion that if you can, try to limit those hits to a -4, and if not, wait an extra week and make 2 free transfers. Now, making these 4 changes, they're good transfers, they're good players you're bringing in, and you have a solid squad overall. There's not really a big weakness. One thing that has actually come about since the recording of this video is Rafinha and other Brazilian players basically not being allowed to play in Game Week 4 because of the Brazilian Federation and the kind of dispute that's going on with the Premier League, Brazil, and you know, all these international teams and FIFA, which is kind of, you know, something else to think about. But taking a -8 to get in Lukaku, who is an injury doubt, same with Calvert-Lewin, I just don't think it bodes well in my opinion. And yes, you have a lot of squad depth, you've got 5 good midfielder options, same with 3 good attackers, but you're going to sometimes be leaving one of them out and it could be the wrong choice. That's just something to bear in mind. Of course, a lot of people like to have 8 attackers in essence, and it can work well for them. I'm always kind of just having either 5 midfielders and 2 strikers, or 4 midfielders and 3 strikers. There's no right or wrong. I just prefer it that way. So I don't think you have to take all of these hits. And Ferran Torres is someone else who I keep on talking about. Very good player, can do extremely well when he starts and even off the bench, but he's going to be occasionally rotated, so you have to be prepared to live with that. So taking a -8 to get all of these players in, 2 injury doubts. You already got Calvert-Lewin, so getting Demarai Gray, you're doubling up on their attack. It could pay off, just like Benrahma and Antonio did in the first 2 game weeks. But it's just something to consider. I'd personally just wait an extra week or 2 in order to make all of these transfers that you want to. And maybe further down the line, you don't want Ferran Torres or one of these other players. And I prefer, personally, Diogo Jota and Mason Greenwood over Ferran Torres, just to name one kind of example. But still, a really good team. I just kind of wait for the injury news and the press conferences, and then once you have all of that information, you can make an even better decision. And I just wouldn't take a -8. If anything, take a -4, or just make 2 free transfers and let a few weeks pass before you make the other 2, or whatever other kind of moves you have in mind. The next team is sent in by Julian, and this involves a -4 hit to get in 2 Wolves players, and he's got 2.5 million in the bank, and I'd definitely be using that to upgrade one of your midfielders. And I'm assuming you moved Danny Ings to Raul Jimenez, although I could be mistaken about that, and I can completely understand the Semedo transfer. Looking at your team, you don't want to be playing Basuma or Brownhill, so you want 4 good defender options, and because Amati is likely not to play in Game Week 4, and if not beyond, you want to get that kind of defensive cover for the next 5 to 10 game weeks in Nelson Semedo. So I completely understand that. And in Game Week 4, you'd be lining up with Semedo, Ben White, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Luke Shaw, then Benrahma, Salah and Bruno in midfield, and then your 3 attackers to complete the lineup. So I understand that, but I think it could be worth saving one of those transfers if possible, and I think it's very important to get that extra midfielder in there, and you can easily upgrade Basuma or Brownhill to a 7 million option or more, depending on what other transfers you end up making. And I keep on saying it, Diogo Jota, Mason Greenwood, and Ferran Torres is also a good option. I think they could all be good choices to replace Basuma or Brownhill. So that would be the key kind of weakness in this team, upgrading one of those midfielders. Otherwise, you only got 3 options that you always have to play every single week, and Benrahma might not be that consistent or reliable long term. And you can always use the Bruno Fernandes money to not only upgrade one of your other midfielders, but you can also use it to upgrade one of your strikers to a premium. So different ways to consider it. It's a good team, but I definitely would improve that midfielder, at least the 4th and 5th choice midfielder. I think one of them can definitely be upgraded on. The final team to feature in this video is sent in by the Troller Guy, aka Harry, and it's a good team. I think the defense is good long term, but in Game Week 4 it could be a cause for concern. The reason why I say that is because Christensen and Trent are fine, but then you look at the rest. Duffy should continue to start, but there is obviously Veltman coming back, that could play a part. And Sanchez is in quarantine because he travelled with Colombia, so he's not going to be featuring in Game Week 4. Then Luke Ayling is playing against Liverpool in this fixture, and that could be very tough. And if Duffy does not play and doesn't come on, then it looks like Ayling will be coming in for you in the defence, and that is not ideal. But long term, you've got a good defence, and I think you could be fine with that, really. You can obviously make some changes here or there going into the future, but there's nothing of immediate concern, really, when you're kind of looking medium to long term. Your midfield is also good. You've got a few injury doubts with Son and Lukaku, but the rest looks fine. Once again, just like with the last team, I think having 2 4.5 million midfielders is not something I would do. I would try to have more money in your midfield, so you can either upgrade Allen or Basuma to a 7.1 million midfielder. Now, you don't have enough money to get Ferran Torres, Mason Greenwood or Diogo Jota, but maybe with another tweak in your team, you can find that extra money to upgrade Allen or Basuma to one of them, and I think they could be absolutely sensational for you. And once again, like I discussed with Rafinha, the news has broken out that pretty much it looks like the Brazilian players are not going to be playing in Game Week 4, otherwise they're going to be facing a 3-0 forfeit, and it just came out of nowhere. I think the whole situation's a bit of a joke, really, but it is what it is. This is what we're stuck with, and of course that front three is looking really good, and you arguably have the best front line you can pretty much assemble. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is another one to consider. Lukaku is an injury out, but I think he should be fine. If not in Game Week 4, should be in Game Week 5. And it's a solid team overall. I just look to improve one of your midfielders, and obviously just bear in mind that Game Week 4 could be a bit tricky with your defence, but still nice team. And thank you to everyone who sent in all of their squads, including the wildcards. Really appreciate it, and good luck in Game Week 4. So that's it. We've gone through 11 drafts today, including 6 wildcards and 5 normal teams. Let me know what you think of them down in the comment section below, and also of your own teams and situations. Just feel free to say what you want in the comments, as long as you keep it respectful. And if you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here, and continue to share this video around with anyone who loves fantasy football, including FPL, UCL Fantasy and football itself. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Dylan_RCM. You can always send in your teams through direct messages on those platforms, and that's how you can feature in these videos. Try to keep the images clean and cropped, and they will have a very good chance of featuring as well if you follow. So really appreciate all the support across the last few weeks, and if you have any ideas, any feedback, of course, as always, let me know, and I will be trying my best to get back to every single one of you. And there will be more streams, including deadline streams for FPL and UCL Fantasy, so keep an eye on those. And yeah, there's more to come. Good luck in Game Week 4, good luck with the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.